shorthand for creating knowledge and for understanding each other and for not wasting time. And so I feel connected by friendship to each of you. And I think that to some extent our production this year is the result of that friendship. Whatever you can say, I think that I and all of you probably have a much better sense of both Russia and Moscow than 2 days ago. And I think that is the kind of strongest recommendation for our activity. I personally have a kind of overwhelming impression of a country that lives with a huge inheritance of the Soviet system, and it has to decide what to keep of that inheritance, what to turn into heritage, and what new elements to add to it, and what new contents. We have seen that both the country and the city have unsustainable quantities of public space with no strategy about what or which parts to give up, and no strategy what to put in its place. In a way, I think that heritage is a kind of almost a metaphor for all the activities, because I think what has been not kind of explored enough in this year yet is that there cannot be any heritage without also a plan for destruction. For me, the two are completely interlinked, and I think this responsibility to what to keep is really critically connected to equal responsibility in terms of what to destroy and what to eliminate and how to occupy the new territory. Next year, Ian suggested I would kind of tell you more about next year. Rather than working on 5 themes, we propose that we focus on Moscow. The irony is that Moscow will be the only mega city of Europe, and that we divide all the activities in 3 sections. A section focusing on Moscow, a section focusing on the hinterland, in the hinterland everything which is not Moscow, and a 3rd section which is dedicated to contents, i.e. what do you put in this hinterland and what do you put in this enormous and growing city. Next year, I think that is also very important, and that may be very important and disappointing to Russians. I think you have a very vested interest in believing that everything you experience is unique. But I think it is also very important next year to look outside the borders and to compare what is happening here to what is happening elsewhere, because I think there is many things that are actually global phenomena that you're kind of seeing here, not for the first time, but where you could learn a lot for looking at comparative developments in the rest of the world. When we started, we agreed with Strelka that the participation of AMO, or the influence of AMO on the whole course in the whole school, would be reduced over time. And so, therefore, I'm kind of happy to announce that there will be 2 new teachers that are kind of proposed by Strelka. One is Karl Ratti of MIT. He will do a project, Sensible City Moscow, which it will be the application of new digital techniques to analyzing the existing situation in Moscow, both in terms of movements, in terms of flows, etc. The second one will be the Swedish David Eriksson, who will do a kind of project called Rethinking Microregions through Customer-Focused Methodology. I will not explain what it is, except to say that it's kind of will probably be a little bit like the game you saw, possibly with similar outcomes. We will basically also produce and kind of focus on consolidating the knowledge of the first and the second year in what we provisionally will call the Russia report, which will not be a book, but kind of really a report and an agenda, what Russia could possibly do with its both its problems but also its incredibly rich potentials. And Anastasia will be the editor of that book, and therefore somehow be kind of responsible with all of us to channel what we're producing and what you're producing into this report. And that will be with the continuing participation of Joseph and June, who will continue to explore thinning, June maybe with an extension into China, because it is becoming clear that part of the contents of that large empty hinterland will be provided by China. And so we hope that by the end of the next year, the summer of next year, we can present all of that in the form of an agenda. Many people have already kind of suggested that actually the timing could be very good, because it could be coinciding with new regimes and with a new political situation. Which I consider perhaps an important effort to conclude the transition period, because I think a transition period has to end at some point. You have to make a transition from one condition to the other condition. A transition cannot be extended indefinitely, and I think it would be really very worthwhile and useful to try to end the transition, and therefore in the form of an agenda what is possible in Russia today. And in that sense I endorse June's call for an imagination which goes beyond the market economy. I finally want to kind of thank our own Jana, because we had an unbelievable piece of luck of finding somebody who was 100% Dutch and 100% Russian. And therefore able, as no other person could have been, in mediating between our mentalities, and you've done that extremely well. Thank you.